What's going on, guys? T-Mart here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Glen Schofield class in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. So, you guys all know Glen Schofield. He's a co-founder and studio head of Sledgehammer Games. He's obviously a very, big guy, kind of had a big influence on the making of Advanced Warfare. And he recently had a video go up with GameStop, which kind of walked us through one of his multiplayer classes that he put together. So I'll link that down in the description, but I wanted to go through it here with you guys just because there are a few new things I wanted to make note of that are pretty important and some pretty big changes, as well as it's just kind of cool to see the whole Pick 13 class setup in action. Like I've talked about the Pick 13 system before. I made a video about it a while ago, but we haven't really seen the whole thing in action yet. So I want to share that with you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off right here, you can see that he has not allocated any of his 13 created class points yet, but he has a combat knife in both his primary and secondary weapon slots. And this is actually a pretty big deal. Like, it's probably bigger than you think it is. So in Call of Duty Ghosts, when you didn't select a primary, it would give you the combat knife, kind of like Advanced Warfare does. Now, if you didn't select a secondary in Call of Duty Ghosts, it just wouldn't give you anything. You couldn't even choose to put the combat knife in the secondary slot. It just wasn't an option. And this was a pretty big deal because, you know, say you're running around with a sniper rifle and you don't want to have a pistol on your class. Now in Advanced Warfare, you're going to be able to switch that combat knife. So if you know there's an enemy in close quarters, you're going to be able to, you know, be ready to go. You're going to be able to knife faster and have that slight advantage. That's a pretty big deal. You could not do that in Ghosts. The even bigger deal for me is that in Ghosts, when you didn't have a secondary weapon, applied to your class, you couldn't YY to like reload cancel or do anything else. I do that a lot. Like in previous games, I would YY a lot to be able to reload cancel and stuff. And you couldn't do that in Ghosts. You know, without anything in the secondary slot, you couldn't change your weapon. And it kind of slowed the game down by quite a bit. But now in Advanced Warfare, if you need to YY for some reason, like for example, again, reload canceling, you're going to be able to do that because you're always going to have something to switch to. You're going to be able to switch that combat knife when you don't have any other secondary selected, which is a pretty big deal. So that's kind of good, and I'm really happy. That's a pretty small improvement, but I think it's going to make the world of a difference. So anyway, let's move on here. So for his primary weapon, he's going to be using the SN6 SMG. There's a fully automatic SMG. It has the highest accuracy out of everything in the game, as well as the first 3 rounds of every burst fire faster. So I'm interested to see how much faster that's actually going to be. And it could be useful to, kind of burst fire this thing to get that extra bonus. Now, he's putting the target enhancer on this thing, which is kind of like the target finder in the past. It highlights enemies, that kind of like red pixelated color that we see that the threat detection grenade does as well. He's also got rapid fire and a foregrip to help him out with his recoil. Now, moving on, he's going to move into the perks. So for the perk 1, he said he was going to equip lightweight, increases your movement speed. We've seen that for a very long time. Perk 2, he's going to go over, he's going to use fast hands, which can allow you to reload while sprinting, swap weapons, use exo abilities, and use the exo launcher faster. Obviously, that's going to be a pretty important perk for multiplayer to really speed things up. He's also going to use a wild card for perk 2 called perk 2 Greed, which lets him get a second perk 2 perk, which is going to use blind eye. And then next up, for perk 3, he's going to go ahead and put on Scavenger because he's got like rapid fire and all that other stuff. He said this is kind of like his spray and play class because hopefully if he dumps enough ammunition downfield, at least 1 or 2 bullets will hit. So that's what he's rocking with there. For his exo ability, he's going to use the exo shield, which is kind of like a portable riot shield you can call up whenever you want to be able to block bullets. And then he's also going to use a spike drone, which I don't really, agree with. That's kind of a funny little equipment to use there, but do whatever you want, Mr. Schofield. And then finally, he's going to use his last point on a score streak here where he's going to choose the UAV, and then he's going to pull up the kind of like customization menu, and you can see there are going to be 3 different customizations you can put on this UAV, at least in this build of the game. I'm sure there's more in the full release copy, but there's extra assist points, and what that does is for every kill that your teammates get while your UAV is up in the air, you get 15 extra points for that. So that helps you out with like, ranking up, your score streaks in game, things like that. That can obviously kind of add up pretty quickly, so that's not a bad one. Next up, we've got threat detection. So this is kind of interesting. What threat detection does is when you first call in your UAV, it will show everybody on the map for the first 10 seconds of that UAV. Even if the enemies have low profile on, which is the perk that kind of like hides you from UAVs, it's kind of like the ghost of this game. If they have that on, it doesn't matter. It's still going to show up, or they're still going to show up on your minimap for the first 10 seconds of that UAV. And I think the UAVs last for 30 seconds. So obviously that can be pretty useful if you've got a lot of sneaky beavers in the game that are trying to stay off the radar. And then finally, the last option here you guys can see is called support. So for an extra 300 points, you continue earning points even after you die. So if you get like 2 kills, which is worth 200 points, and then you die, you don't lose those points. And you kind of carry on with building up towards that UAV into the next life, which is obviously pretty useful. So yeah, there you guys have it. That's the class setup right there. That's the Mr. Glen Schofield class. Maybe we'll have to try this thing out and do like a live com once the game actually comes out to do a tribute to him. But I just let you guys see the Pick 13 created class system in action. And then also, like, I'm very excited about the fact that if you don't choose a secondary in this game, you're going to get the combat knife automatically. That's a pretty big improvement in my eyes from Ghost. So, yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know what you think about this class. Thank you guys so much for watching. Got a bunch of great Advanced Warfare videos on the way. I will catch you all later. Check out my YouTube. Seen yet? Peace out, guys.